I was raised in the Northeast by my mom, just me, my mom, and my little sister. Raised in what they would call the ghetto. Prostitution was in our neighborhood, drugs. I'm so old now, they didn't really call them gangs back then. They were posses at that point in time. But nonetheless, people were acting foolish and doing all kinds of crazy things. My dad wasn't around when I was growing up. So my mom one day is doing a girlfriend's hair in our apartment. And there was this coworker she had named Caesar. And he was always inviting her to church. So one Sunday morning, he shows up and he knocks on the door, and my mom's nickname is Peaches. That's actually what I usually call her as well. He says, she lets him in, Peaches, you gonna come to church with me today? And my mom starts hemming and hawing and saying, no, I'm doing my girlfriend's hair. I can't do it. I can't go today. And Caesar says, I'll wait. We showed up to church late that day, and I was in this place where they had puppets and they were talking about Jesus, and they were offering kids Fritos and Doritos, and they asked if you are interested in Jesus coming into your heart, raise your hand. And I thought, that sounds like a great idea. So I'm 7 years old, and they're offering Fritos and Jesus, so why not? That just seems to be a match made in heaven to me. And went forward, got my Fritos and got my Jesus, and went on home. But that was the start of the journey for me. Didn't end there. As I continued to grow and develop, my dad still was not involved in my life, very, very sporadic at best. And other men in the church actually would come and they'd pick me up on Saturdays, and they'd take me to meetings at the church, or they'd take me to my basketball games, my football practice, and really help put me on a path where I could understand what it means to live a life of integrity and character. I have not been perfect at all. I've, walked down some roads that I wish I would not have gone down, and made some decisions I wish I wouldn't have made. But throughout that entire process, the message of grace, me getting something that I don't deserve this love and this forgiveness and this mercy. But that message found its way into my heart. So as I continue to grow and develop, I think there were multiple times that I grabbed some Fritos and let this guy named Jesus into my heart. And now I'm married with a beautiful wife and a beautiful family. I have not yet figured everything out. I still have a lot of questions, a lot of things I don't understand. My oldest son struggles with asthma. Sorry about that. So there are a few things I still don't get, but I'm thankful that I'm starting to understand grace a little bit more. And even in my questions, I still experience this unconditional, authentic love that I'm trying to share with as many people as possible. Sorry about the tears, man. My kids can get me.
Well, my story is a pretty messy story of finding God. As a young girl, my view of God was that God just was a whole bunch of rules. And if you followed the rules, then you were good at your religion. And if you were good at your religion, then maybe God would let you go to heaven one day. So that was kind of my view. And so I thought, okay, I'll try this. So I tried to follow the rules and tried to have this religion, and I failed. I failed miserably. I carried a lot of hurt in my teenage years, I had been horribly abused by someone in our family, and I had a dad that rejected me, said that he never really wanted children, especially not a girl. There were little moments of fun and happiness, but gosh, I was so broken, so broken. Then one day I found out I was pregnant, and I was alone, and I was devastated. I was so afraid. I knew that this would bring a lot of shame on my family, and so I decided to have an abortion. And I knew the minute that I woke up from the anesthesia, I knew they had taken my baby, but it was as if they had ripped out part of my heart too. I went home after that, and I laid on the little couch in my little apartment, and I cried out to to this God that I wasn't really even sure was there. And I just said, you know, I really stink at anything religious. I really stink at following the rules. I think I pretty much stink at life in general. So if there is a God, and if you are there, just have mercy on me and let me die, because the pain is so deep. I wanted this booming voice to come out of the sky and just say, I am God and you're gonna be okay. But I didn't hear anything. I had this friend in my life. She was always giving me Bible verses. And she gave me this verse one time, Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. And I couldn't believe it at first, but after I read the verse over and over and over and over and over again, something inside of me just clicked, and I realized maybe I wasn't the throwaway person that I always thought that I had been. And maybe following God didn't mean that I had to perfectly follow the rules. Like, maybe that's not really what it's all about. Maybe loving God means accepting his love for me. I didn't know the right things to pray. I didn't know the right things to do. I just knelt down in my little apartment and I lifted up my hand. And for the very first time, I just said, yes, God. Yes, yes, yes. If you want me and if you love me, then I want to accept that love. One day I realized that my sense of self-worth really is in what God has already done for me, that God has already established such a pattern of love for me. I mean, God loves me when I'm good, and God loves me when I'm not so good. And in the deepest place of my heart, I believe that.
Growing up, I saw God kind of as this police officer in the sky. He was waiting to judge me for anything that I did wrong. You know, don't watch R-rated movies, and don't do drugs, don't get drunk, don't stay out past curfew, and don't have sex. And when I went to college, the first week I had broke every single one of those rules in epic proportions. I remember I was saying my prayers one night, as I always had, and asking God just to be with me and to protect me and to bless me. And I started crying, just weeping hysterically all by myself in this little twin-sized bed on campus. And I realized that it didn't seem like anyone was listening. And so I reached out to someone and I just said, hey, and I just confessed all my sins to them. And we weren't even that close, but I just said, hey, this is everything that I've done wrong in the past 7 days. And they said, oh, that's kind of college. That's what you do. And afterwards you may take an interest into God. And that was bad advice, but it was prophetic in a sense of after college. I moved to Dallas and now was in the big city, and I was at this bar on a Saturday night, and I bumped into a friend that I knew from college, and just said, "Hey, what are you doing this weekend?" And she said, "Well, I'm gonna go check out this church tomorrow." And I said, "Cool, pick me up. My church sucks," is what I said. And she did, and I went with her, and she kind of X's the story. Every Sunday I kept going, and I would sit in the back. I was hungover. I would often smell like smoke from the night before, and there was just something around the truth and the authority that the guy up there had, and the way that he read from the scriptures like he believed it. And so I said, I believed in that moment that there was a God. I was like, I gotta find out who he is. And really my bias was against Christianity. I thought, what are the odds that I'd be born into America where, a lot of people are Christian? Like if I was born in India, I'd be Hindu. If I was born in Iran, I'd be Muslim. If I was born in Jordan, I might be Jewish, and yet China, I'd be Buddhist. And so I started looking at the world religions and looking at other faiths with a bias against Christianity. And I looked at Mormons, Jehovah's Witness, Church of Christian Science, Scientology, and I kept coming back to this character, Jesus Christ. And I started wrestling with this idea: did he really live? He's the most polarizing character in the history of the world. I've now been in the jungles of Africa, and they know of Jesus. I've been in the jungles of the Amazon on a boat, for over a week, and get off, and somebody knew about Jesus there. And people love him, people hate him, people get uncomfortable when you say his name. And so I just kept coming back to the character of Jesus. And every religion out there that I would look at, they would acknowledge that he existed. And even some of the most renowned atheists of today would acknowledge that he existed. I just continued to wrestle with why was he so polarizing? Why do people now, millions and millions, maybe billions of people, gather in his name when he just kind of invested in 11 guys? And so as I wrestle with that, I realized that he had died for me, and that Christianity wasn't really this list of rules that I had to obey, and that God wasn't in heaven kind of waiting to rip me off, that he loved me, that he was crazy about me, and that he had sent his son to set me free. And when that truth hit my heart, when it came alive in me, just everything began to change. So my friends changed, what I did for fun changed, who I hung out with, and who I did those things with. All of that changed kind of overnight.